I'm Jerry. It's good to see all you guys here today. This is a fantastic group of people, actually, to talk about this. We have Tony with AI Labs, or sorry, Topaz Labs. I don't know why I said AI Labs.
It's okay, lots of AI today.
Yeah. I've heard you're also a double for a TV show currently.
People say I look like a character from Entourage. It's a little bit before my time, but yes.
Wow. And actually, I'm just going to go across the board and let you guys introduce each of yourselves and talk a little bit about what you do. And like, maybe just to start off with a question of like, who are you? What do you do? And give me like one way that you're seeing AI make your field better.
Okay, yeah. My name's Tony Martinez. I'm a product manager for Topaz Video AI. I've been working at Topaz for about a year and a half. Before that, I studied film preservation at Ryerson University in Toronto, Ontario. And I'd say AI right now is allowing filmmakers to make decisions in post-production that used to be absolutely required to be done at the time of filming. I think we're breaking people out of the exposure triangle. I think we're reducing limitations on post-production. And I think in that aspect, AI is a almost universally positive impact on post-production.
Okay.
My name is Kellyanne Pastucha. I'm a producer with experience in brand storytelling, live production, live streaming, and TV production as well. I'm so happy that you introduced it by talking about the impact on post-production, because for me in my role, it's most important to me in pre-production. And the tools that I personally am now using, sometimes often daily, are allowing me to provide assets, provide materials for, say, pitches, for storyboarding that I couldn't produce previously, and or would have had a much harder time sourcing previously.
So my name is Glenn Bradley. I'm a senior marketing strategist over at VHC. And so some of the clients that we work with include DFW Airport, Coca-Cola, Tyson Foods. We do a lot for higher education. So there's colleges, universities, you name it, cities, governments. And so part of my job is strategy, business development, and then of course making sure that like the concepts and ideas get kind of presented to the client. And so yeah, we definitely we utilize artificial intelligence to kind of help streamline some of the work, but to kind of fine tune what we do for the most part.
My name is Russell Johnson. I'm a video editor. I'm a post-production supervisor, and do that work across standard video projects and XR work, AR, augmented reality projects. And I have, in the conversation that I was having earlier in this room, have found a lot of ways in which there are just efficiencies that can come with some of these AI tools. I know a lot of the heat and the interest is around like the generative tools, creating images, creating video, what have you. But there are simpler, more practical things right now that can just free up your time, create assemblies, create like the core of your work faster, not to make the job shorter, but then to allow you to focus on elevating the work afterwards. And I think that's one of the best possible uses for AI.
Okay, cool. Thank you for sharing all that. I'm going to selfishly just go with the question because I'm an audio person by trade, and I'm doing on-set stuff and recording all that. And you said it's making things easier for you in the post-production. So I feel like what I'm doing directly like goes straight to you usually. So like, how are you give me some ways that's helping you make that whole process easier in general.
The process of editing audio alongside video, or
both really. Like, so you're talking about post-production.
Yeah.
Like, give me a little bit more detail about that.
Sure. So I'll give you an example. For one of the big advancements in the last few years has been shooting 10-bit log footage.
Okay.
And that's an entirely new step in production where to get the most out of your camera, to get the best latitude between highlights and shadows, you need to shoot in this format that doesn't look right at all directly out of the camera. So what used to be a process that required manual color grading is now automated through the creation of lookup tables, or LUTs. And the same way that those have become ultra popular for getting a certain look and getting the same look across different cameras, what we're able to do is match cameras in terms of their noise profile. So for example, if you're shooting with an A camera that's a 8K Blackmagic camera, and you're shooting your B cam is another camera that's 4K. To match those up, we're able to upscale the 4K camera to 8K. We're also able to denoise both of them so that they're equal in terms of their sharpness and lack of noise. And what that does is open up a whole world of possibilities for somebody who's color grading these cameras and trying to match them. We're really, I would say one of our core strengths as a program is creating the perfect starting point for a color artist. And in terms of replacing the work of a color artist, I feel like our application alone cannot do the creative side of building a look, building a mood, telling a story through color and light. What we can do is remove a lot of the technical limitations that make that more difficult. In terms of audio specifically, our applications right now, we're able to intake almost any audio format, preserve every single bit and every single piece of data in that, and put that in sync with the upscaled output. We don't currently do audio cleanup that's automated. We feel like that space is more mature than the cleanup tools that are available for video. So our mission is still to be, far and away the best video upscaling product out there. But I would say that in general for post-production, we are a really good equalizing tool between different cameras and different hardware.
Okay. So the way that you discussed that really stuck out to me because it's talking a lot more about like it's augmenting as opposed to replacing. And I know there's been a lot of fear about, honestly, a lot of people like losing jobs and things like that, like replacing them.
Yeah.
Like, do you all feel like that's been the same experience that y'all have had, or do you like honestly feel like there's things that you can feel like certain roles that you can replace, or you feel like it's helping you and your groups that you or the people you work with like augment better?
I would say it's absolutely augmenting our roles. The only way that I have seen it so far replace anybody is in the instance of occasionally voiceover work. To just be honest about ways that we have found it to be useful.
Yeah.
And even then, I mean, it's not foolproof because so often, an AI voice can sound really smooth, good delivery, but can't give me the emotion I want. Can't take notes of certain things to stress. There's a lot of things that it can't do. But in some cases, it has been the solution that we need, and that's the only way that it has in any way replaced anybody. Everybody on our team, I work at THD Films, everyone at our team uses certain tools in their daily workflow now that just allow us to do things that we couldn't do a year ago without putting much more work into it. So definitely augmenting.
So I'll jump in there a little bit too. And so here's kind of a practical, I guess, example of how, dealing with like a voiceover situation. So with a tool like Synthesia or Speechify or whatever, you plug in, because we've done this, we've tested it with, creating training courses, okay? And so you plug in your script, and you watch, Synthesia, you create your AI tool or your Speechify, create the voiceover, and there's a whole lot of really extra tweaking that you have to do to make it give it that inflection or that emotion, and then it's still robotic and it's still kind of dry. So I just don't think that it's meant to. Well, I'm sure that it's probably designed to replace, but it's just not there yet. So right now, kind of using it as an augmentation or just to get a concept out or just to get an idea across, kind of on the go or really, really fast or a quick turnaround, ideally that's going to work, but I don't see it replacing a voiceover artist for us right now, Then you just got to, I'm spacing out, the sentences and doing commas where there should be a period, or, you're writing out like T-H-E for it to say T-H-E. It's just really
like
weird,
meticulous.
You can't like put a $sign and you say 100, you have to write it all out. But I mean, it's just, there's really a lot of human interaction that I feel like artificial intelligence still needs in order to get what you really could just get with a human.
Okay.
So augmentation, yeah.
Yeah, augmentation definitely, and automation. I'm gonna date myself because I'm old. I don't know if anybody here remembers the show Xena, Warrior Princess. Okay, that's a show that I worked on a long time ago, like when I first started working, and that show was super low budget. Like they shot it in the backwoods of New Zealand, like on 16 millimeter, like unregistered cameras. If there was a green screen element, they would just throw it up in a field and they'd shoot it and they'd go, there you go, now put the monster behind it. And so really what that meant is most of it was just roto. I mean, a group of somebodies, their whole job was just blunt force roto, every day, in and out. That's not a job that anybody likes. It's not like a job, those people who did that, they wanted to be in the visual effects industry. They wanted to make the magic. They wanted to make the creatures, but they were stuck doing that thing. AI is already pretty good at that now, isolating an element, something moving in frame, and doing that part of the job that's kind of odious and that nobody really wants to do, and then allowing them to improve and work on the other parts. So that to me, augmentation, automation, those are good things.
I would say look at AI as like the same way you would look at it as auto white balance. It's the tool that we have that we just use. Nobody wants to go through and do an S curve and do. Yes, you could. It's fun, sometimes if it's simple. But then if you have to rotoscope every little piece and
Okay.
Yeah. One small thing I'd add to that, you made a great point about rotoscoping. I think, AI right now is great for automating the monotonous, repetitive tasks because, as humans, we're meticulous and we care about what we're doing, but we get tired. Parts of our bodies get tired, our eyes get tired, our fingers get tired. AI never gets tired. It will do the same rotoscope job on frame 10,000 as it did on frame 1. And I think in terms of liberating you to do more creative thinking and more creative work, I really appreciate the automatic functions like auto rotoscoping. I think most people would agree that they are meant to be working on things that are more high level than that. Manual rotoscoping is a necessity that is now optional. There are tools that are ready to go in terms of creating good rotoscope automatically. And I think that's a great example of the kind of thing that AI will continue to be good at and never really slow down or shift in quality.
You're thinking about finding people to work for you in the midst of all of that. Do you feel like you now are valuing people who come in and apply for stuff and have AI skills on their resume or, proven work or something like that?
Well, for us as an AI software company, we're absolutely always looking for engineers and deep learning researchers that have already started on AI research. So for us, it's a little bit different. I would love to hear what the more production-oriented panelists would have to say about that. For us, it's basically a requirement that you need to be passionate about AI to be working at Topaz Labs at this point. And everyone there at our office really wants to create AI tools that make a real difference for people who use it for work every single day. And we're obviously a little bit unique in that sense, so I'd love to hear a more general perspective from the creative side.
Mind if I jump in there? I'll tell you. Whenever we put a job out there, I kind of want to know that whoever's applying for it has a foundational understanding, and then there's the AI. I don't want to know that the first thing that you default to is to jump to the AI tool. It's just like why would why you go to school, you want to learn 3D technology. The first thing they're going to do, if it's the right school, is put you through 2D technology, right? They're going to make you build out a 90-minute animation in 2D to show you the foundational pieces, everything that you have to go through and get that foundational understanding, and not just throw you into artificial intelligence or a shortcut or a cheat sheet, situation, right? And so I definitely want to see the foundational experience first, so that you get the understanding. You know why we're doing this, and you know every piece of it in case something breaks.
I don't necessarily have any experience in the hiring process, but my thoughts would be that I would just want to know that you have an interest to learn it, because to even be an expert in any of these tools, it's going to change next month anyways. So if you are just a student of the student of the art form, then if you have that interest, you're going to keep if you're hired, you're going to keep learning what's the next update next month, what's the next tool that comes out in 2 months. So that's what would matter to me.
Yeah, I would say it's a mindset thing, similarly, like managing post teams. And again, hearkening back to my pre-Cambrian beginnings, it's, I remember meeting people who were editors who worked on flatbeds, and like when NLEs came along, they not only like stick their heels in, we're like, that's not real editing. If you're not cutting the film and putting it together physically, you're not really an editor. That's like cheating. I feel like you have to have the mindset to embrace these things. If I was asking anything, and not necessarily that people have mastered all AI, that they plan to use AI on everything that they're doing, but they have a mindset that says, I'm open to it. I might be able to find ways to make it work. So yeah, I think that to me, that would be what I was looking for in talking to folks.
What are some ways that y'all think that people can adapt into that environment, coming from, I don't know, maybe just how like film has been for the past 5 or 10 years? Like, what ways do you think they can start working on trying to get into either that mindset or find ways to develop that skill, those skills? Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I was waiting to
Oh, sorry.
Now you need
But
to start.
sure, I'll, if it's something that you're like just now getting into, you haven't really explored much of it, there is, for me personally, there's so much fatigue over just how much is out there. And, you know, there's like all these, there's these influencers, thought leaders on LinkedIn who are like, here are the 50 greatest tools of the month. And I'm like, I don't need all 50 of those. I need 2 of them.
Yeah.
Somebody else who does things I don't do. Someone else who does audio can use the other, 3 of those. Someone who does anything else that I don't do can figure out how to use all of the others. I need the few on this list. So finding like the 1 or 2 tools that you've heard that are of interest to what it is that you do, work on those. Learn those 2 things, or 1 or 2 or 3. Rather than getting into the weeds of like, well, I have to be an expert of any of the Topaz Labs tools, of Midjourney, of now ChatGPT, and ChatGPT 4. Is it 0 or 4.0? It's like a weird, it's
4.0
a small
Newest
Omni.
one is 4.0,
4.0.
which is not 4.0, it's 4.0.
Just 4.0. It's going to change every month.
It's
So-
40.
Yeah, 40.
So start small. Find like the one thing that you've heard could be of help in one task. Figure that out first.
Anybody else?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I don't have anything profound on that other than, yeah, I mean, I think we all should embrace that technology, right? You have to embrace it. I mean, it's just like Russ said earlier, manually going into like the lab and just like in a dark room editing, Photoshop, you have the tools. Make sure you learn the tools. You have to know what you're using, right? Use the tools. And then look at ways that you can kind of build on that skill and become the expert and the authority. I mean, again, now I know that I hear a lot of people think that, AI is going to steal their job or make things, tough for them in some kind of way, but it's really not designed for that, right? It's designed for the master to wield, right? It's a tool that a master would wield. You know what I mean? So just kind of embrace it. Learn how to use it. Learn how to, because honestly, as a client, for all the clients that I've worked with, they're grateful that we do things more efficiently and faster, and that we can get it turned over to them a whole lot better. Now, the marketing directors, the program coordinators, they don't want to go and jump inside of ChatGPT. They don't want to go and jump inside of any After Effects or whatever. They don't want to do it. They keep coming to us because we do it right, and now that we do it faster and better and we're more efficient, they're going to continue to stay. Because not only do we understand the foundational pieces of it, now we have the technology, right? We have the speed behind it, so.
I want to stay on that or energy for just a minute and ask you another question then. Do you feel like you've seen production budgets like still allow you to keep that human emphasis as opposed to like being like, this is going to replace everybody's jobs? Like, it seems like everybody here agrees that like this is a tool that we can do really cool things with and be more efficient and get so much more creativity done with. But do you feel like you're being enabled to do it that way?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see the. I mean, obviously, the client's budgets they shrink anyway. You know, whether you have AI, you know, whether you can do it faster or slower or whatever it is, they're going to continue to claim poverty. But no, there's still room for that. I mean, there is room for it. They allow it, and you know what I mean. So the clients are open to that. Of course, you still have to kind of use it with a grain of salt. You have to think about privacy issues. You know, and so where are you going to share that information, or what about the legalities of it? And this is where the human touch I still feel like is important. You know, the robot is not going to kind of create the ideas for us. They're not going to have that vision, right? They're not going to. It doesn't just create it for you. You know what I mean? You still have to plug all of that data in there, right? And so I think that having those two components is a benefit, you know, to the client, and so they're still willing to pay for it.
Got it. This might be a question better for Ryan, but like, and Glenn's doing a great job of leading my questions for me, actually. Where do you guys feel like you need to draw a line with, or do you feel like there's a line that you're drawing as far as like, I'm not going to use it to do this, and I feel like this is taking it too far? And I wanted to ask Ryan because I know you've done a lot, or your stuff focuses a lot on like the generative stuff, so you have to deal with a lot of the copyright and things like that too, right?
Oh, Russ.
Oh, I'm sorry, I think it was Ryan.
I was like,
so
was
sorry.
there somebody up here named Ryan? Yes. Yeah, no. As I was talking to people earlier, I feel like there should be like sort of a code or like some sort of ethical framework that you engage in this stuff with. For me personally, it's like, for example, I quickly abandoned in the style of in any prompt. It's like, unless I'm doing a parody of like something where it's like I'm trying to evoke Andy Warhol, so do it in the style of Andy Warhol, I never use that bit. I feel like instead you have the possibility to use tools that you've developed in your physical film and video and editing world, a certain kind of camera, a certain exposure, but never, in the style of Tak Fujimoto. I'm not don't give me somebody else's, don't riff on somebody else's style. So I mean, that to me, that's one thing right there. And I think that everybody should lobby for and be involved in the efforts to find a way to compensate the people whose materials are training these models. I don't know what that's going to be. It's all so new, but those are definitely worthwhile and important.
That's where I kind of think, I mean, the deeper you go now, you can get really, really, really heavy and deep into like kind of building your own models out, right? And so part of kind of building your own model is what is the data that you put into it, right? It's like everything that I've done before, or whatever this client has done before, or whatever voice or message that I want to kind of mimic. And it being already something that we create, you got to feed it to it, right? You build that training model out, right?
You're using your own material to train the model.
And so that's a little bit, it's actually a lot safer than saying, yeah, in the style of. Well, now it's just in the style of, and now, oh, by the way, model, we're gonna call this style the voice of wherever, or the voice of the client, or the voice of, and so now do it in the VHC audience, or do it to the VHC voice to the VHC audience. And who's the audience? So I'm going to train it. This is the audience. This is what the audience cares about. This is who they are. And so again, it gets a little bit hairy, but again, training it the right way, you'll get closer to an output that you hope to get out of it. Make sense?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Cool. And I think there's going to be more and more of that, just to say. I mean, people realize they can't just throw their proprietary data into these current systems and hope that for it to not be distributed everywhere.
Exactly.
And they'll have to do internal builds based on, as you say, I mean, like the style book of a client and the work you've already done.
Right.
And that's completely legitimate. That's a tool that then increases your efficiency, but it's the work. We're building on the work you've already done.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I appreciate about Topaz Labs is because they, you have the ability to kind of keep everything on your own local drive, right? It's not distributed. They don't go and jump in and start looking and snooping around. It's on the internet. That. So you got to really have to be careful and be specific about how you do it and where you store it.
Yeah. The only thing I would add to that is that I think in all of these conversations about whether or not AI will replace creative jobs, like writing, directing, working on screenplays, I think a lot of people have, I guess, a pretty low opinion of audiences. And I think to prove that, for the audience here today, how many of you have ever watched a movie or a TV show specifically because a certain person directed or wrote it? Right, and you guys are fans of people who participate in the creative process and make things. And I know that all of you are smart enough to know that saying, in the style of Wes Anderson at the end of your ChatGPT prompt is not the same thing. And I think even screenwriters know that. They know that they can't co-write with an AI model. People want the human experience. They want something that has to do with the experiences somebody has gone through in their life and affected their art. We really do believe that entirely AI-written screenplays aren't up to the creative bar that audiences expect today. I think art house film is more accessible than ever. People have wildly divergent tastes in media. I don't think we're going to see a mass replacement of screenwriting through AI models simply because people want something more human. They want something more unique. And I think right now we're at a point where with the presence of these AI models, that's going to actually become more desirable.
Yeah, if I could add on that, I mean, this is, and I don't know the future, but my most dystopian take is what we'll see is we might go through like a content winter where it's like people are like, okay, these things are happening and I don't have a lot of money and it's cheap and I'm going to have the avatar speaking at the camera. It's the AI generated voiceover and the AI generated imagery and it's all going to look the same. And there's going to be a lot of it. And people are going to quickly tune it out. It's going to be like white noise. It all looks the same. It's easy to turn off. And the people who are doing what we're trying to do, educate people, sell things, what have you, they'll realize that is just that's a speed ticket to being ignored. And come back around to knowing that you've got to have some individual voice that's moving all of those pieces, that's using that technology, that's not replaceable. That's essential.
So that sounds a lot like my high school years, basically, just making mistakes and being like, oh, I can't do things that way.
Xena and Hercules and those are the shows produced with that block of time. Yeah, Saturday afternoon.
What about them? I missed the first.
What was the other one?
Hercules, Babylon 5. If it was cheesy, I worked on it.
There were certain blocks of time that were put into.
Yeah.
And it works right there. You can just fill up that schedule.
Yeah.
And you have to look at how they're going to base the program. So, cheesy's good. I mean, it works.
It has its place.
And you throw things in there as you listen to some of these things later on. I was just listening to something about MASH. He did 33 episodes, Alan Alda. So if you like that show, you have to understand that he did 33 episodes. He started it and directed it.
Yeah.
So we're going to get...
You can still play around with these things and you manipulate them for that market time slot.
We're going to hold that thought for just a second because we are going to do a Q&A session for a second. I wanted to ask if anybody else had any more thoughts on where you see the future of this going.
Yeah. So where do we see the future of AI going? Is that
As far as how it's in film or whatever.
I'm optimistic. I think AI once we really kind of get a grip on what it's there for and what we can most make the use out of it. Or I think that what'll happen is that the practitioners will find a way to use it, as a tool, to make it work for them. That's kind of where I see it going. Eventually, we'll get a grip, right? I think that right now it's real, it's new, and you get content creators, and I tend to I use this lightly, right? Content creators, they just look for the easy way out. They go and make a quick buck, and let me just put some trash video together. and put it on YouTube and just make a little money and just like throw a fake robot voiceover on there. And then I think what's going to happen is that the audience is going to start to get numb, and then they're going to want something again that only a human with the emotional experience can, or with a visual, perspective, shadows and textures and colors and inflections. The audience is going to want that again, and I think there's going to be eventually, there's probably going to be that comeback, right? That's kind of where I see it going. That's me. That's just my perspective.
Okay. Anybody else?
I think what both of you have said, it covers exactly how I feel, is that everything always happens in trends. It has always happened in trends. And so, there is a generation, and maybe it's even just like next year, that doesn't even call this AI anymore. Because that is such a catchphrase, AI. They're not going to know it as AI someday. It's just going to be life. It's just going to be the tools that are there. And sometimes I also think we're using the term AI when we're really just talking about algorithms.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Which
that
has
was
been
like
around for a long
that.
time.
That is
exactly.
how I start
yeah.
my whole thing. It's actually just, if we can all be honest with each other, it's the worst naming ever.
Yeah.
It is, while it is, yes, artificial, it is not intelligent in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
They're
Not
just
sentient.
predictive models. So, I mean, it's a misnomer, and you're right. We would do well to get rid of that, just like information superhighway or whatever. I mean, it's
Right,
like,
of course.
things that, terms that fall out of favor for good reason.
Super high.
All right, so on that, oh, go ahead. You got anything else?
I was kind of done.
Okay, so on that note, we have about time for about 3 questions before they kick us out of the building. So are there any questions y'all want to ask? Go ahead.
So to piggyback off what you're saying about the audio version of AI, I've been using something called 11 Labs,
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
and it's pretty decent. Another question I want to ask is, there's a program that ChatGPT has coming out, they're testing called Star. Do y'all feel that could possibly not take over, but be another tool that we can add on to quick turnarounds or?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a viable competitor to all the other ones. And 11 Labs, what is it? Just clone you, and you can like speak your voice in there, and it'll take it and then just
It has AI voices that are built in, and
But
other
then there's
people
also-
contribute ones, and then you can also clone your
Yeah.
own voice.
You can clone it, and then you can, like you said, it'll.
Yeah, just have all those, like, because all of them have all the same like lineup, and then there's this like extra piece that you can do.
Yeah. Have you noticed? Sorry.
No, go
this
for it.
is
No,
a-
sorry.
I mean, because I use 11 Labs, and it's been the very thing that you say. I just a little bit of log rolling. I do a podcast with a buddy of mine called Adaptation Nation. Check it out. And we do promos, but it's like used to when I did the promos and I had to record it myself, and it's like I don't have a good place. My dog's always barking. It took forever. Like one promo every 2 weeks. I went to 11 Labs. I had it clone my own voice. Again, I feel like that would be an ethical line. Don't clone someone else's voice. Clone your own. Now I just type in the VO for the script, and it's done. It's a good quality. It kind of sounds like me. It sounds enough like me. No one cares what I sound like anyway. So that works great. And have you noticed that sometimes just every time you do it again, just have it regenerate, it gets more and more emotional.
Yeah.
It gets more and more read. I don't know what that is. That's not a knob I'm setting.
Or if you stretch out the words a little bit, or if you give it a comma, some space.
Yeah.
Because real conversations, right, there's spacing in between
Yeah.
inflections, like you were saying. So I can agree to you, because it takes about a few weeks for them to send, well, now they're faster. When I first was testing it, it'll take 2 weeks before they send your actual call back.
I did the low end version. It was done in half an hour,
Yeah.
and it's not half bad.
No, it's not. I can agree with that. The inflection,
Yeah.
as you do it more, it kind of picks up. Especially if you record, like I gave it 2 different recordings. I gave it a recording where I was more upbeat,
Yeah.
and it kicked me, and I said, listen to this. I'm like, what, is that you?
But the thing is, but the truth of it is that, I mean, the whole thing of it is that it's supposed to help you as a professional. It's supposed to help you do your job better, more efficient. Just like every tool that it's like a shovel. Just like everything that we've ever had in the past to help you do your job better, not to take away the job.
Or do things that I could not previously
Yeah.
do in my job. I use 11 Labs like once a week, if not more. And I'm not sure about the regenerating each time and getting better inflection, because I find it's like Russian roulette. I mean, really, you do not know what inflection it's going to give you. And so if I'm trying to get it to read any more than
It's
like,
inconsistent.
yeah, if my script that I want it to read is any more than like 2 sentences, then that first sentence is going to be great, but then the second time it's going to be weird as hell. So practically for me using 11 Labs specifically, and I think Chat's version is going to be like neck and neck, the same thing, is correcting minor mistakes in dialogue, which I couldn't do before unless you went back and re-recorded something. I have found that to be the most beneficial practical use of it, which reminds me, you asked earlier a question about ethics, in which case, if I'm correcting someone's dialogue, we actually have a conversation about this every single time we've had to do it, in which we ask ourselves, am I creating something that was never said, or am I just fixing what was already there but sounded weird in some ways? And so if it's the latter, we can go forward with it. If it's creating something that was never said, we're not going to go forward with it. And I've even updated all of my talent release forms for a clause in there to say, we do use some of these tools, here's how we use it. And so as part of our talent release form, I'm letting you know up front that I might use that.
Okay, I want him to be able to ask this question real quick.
First of all, thank you all for being here. I know it's late in the day. My question is kind of be off the wall. It's kind of a two-part question. First one being, from a legal aspect, I like your analogy of the master using the tools. If you're programming this AI, well, first of all, are we discussing AI as its own entity or an attachment of oneself? Because if an AI creates something, does the ownership from a legal aspect come to the AI program or to the person that hits the buttons in the background?
So then, that's actually really touchy, because there are some cases currently that are kind of in court over does the final product actually belong to the creator of it, or who does it belong to, right? And so I don't know. I mean, that's kind of something that you really have to kind of speak with your attorney about, or an entertainment attorney or whoever. And I follow someone on Instagram that I found throughout, and I sent it to Ian. I got to figure out. I'll find out who it is, and I'll share it with you. But there's an attorney kind of deals with AI, cases of the rights, owner's rights, ownerships, and all that other. Honestly, I can't answer that question for you, because again, there's a lot of cases that are actually going on currently, and so
I don't think there's a precedent set for many of those.
Yeah.
It's legally gray still, and they're trying to
Apparently, like
define it.
AI law is like the new thing starting to become now. Like it's its own, like for attorneys, it's now its own area of focus that it's starting to become.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The second part of my question, I'm sorry, was so I just recently watched the movie Ex Machina. I don't know if you're all familiar with that movie. And it's I forget the name of the test, but it's to put something AI in front of you that's fake.
The Turing test?
Yes. And so my question with that is, if someone is asking these questions or raising that difference of AI would never have that human touch, do you think somebody out there is working on how do we make AI more human? Because if something is synthetic in front of you, and from a psychological aspect, I mean, if the interaction with a human and human is nothing more than a dopamine hit, I mean, we make synthetic herbs with pharmaceuticals. Like you still get the same effect, but not growing the same. So,
That's a lot of question. The answer is yes. There is somebody working on that right now, because there is money to be made. I think Replica is one of the companies that creates like digital personas that people can date, essentially. It's like they build relationships with.
Yeah.
So I think but there are already ethical issues cropping up there. I think it was Replica in particular. it made the decision, the conscious decision, to dial back the level of intimacy that these models would experience with people, because they thought it was too much. And they acknowledged that they didn't understand where some of the responses were coming from, and that was kind of playing in a sphere that was maybe not fair to do to people who could very easily be manipulated by these things. The Turing test has been beaten, by the way, by some of these models already. So it's like they're trying to develop a new test because that's basically in the history books at this point.
Have you ever heard of Neuralink?
I'm somewhat kind of hearing about
So, I mean, that's Elon Musk, right? So he created this a chip where it could be placed into your brain, and then it just ties into, I guess, TPE, ChatGPT, and then it will, if you look it up, there's a Neuralink experiment that they did where they plugged this chip into a chimp and then watched him kind of interact and make certain movements based on his thoughts, right? So things he was thinking, the actions would
Neuralink
take
is
place.
actually now used in a human. There's
Oh
one-
yeah,
there's one
and
human.
it's already fried one person, and the FDA said they can try another.
Good.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's always somebody trying to, attempting to push the limits of how to tie this artificial intelligence in with the human experience and kind of bridge that gap. So I would look up that Neuralink experiment, and you'll see.
All right, well, we want to honor the venue's time, but I really want to thank y'all for coming up here and talking. Thank you so much for sharing y'all's experience and your wisdom on this. Thank y'all for attending, and if you have any more questions, y'all are welcome to talk outside. We really got to get out of here so they can get everything done and cleaned up in time. So thank you so much.
Thank you,
y'all.
everybody.
Thanks a lot.